Forward. Halt. Left. 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 Right. Your left. 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 Right. Down, down. Down, down.
Arkansas boy with a lifelong plan took the oath like his old man, then turned around proud and shook his hand. L.A. kid stood right behind, took a deep breath and signed on the line, while tears streamed from his mama's eyes. They hopped right up on that Greyhound bus, swapping stories. They laughed and cussed, and they talked about the girls that they loved. They made a pact, shined up their boots, got the call before it hit the news. No clue what they were about to do. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wednesday edition. Finish This Fight podcast. It's a wonderful, warm, hot day here in South Florida. It's kind of hot around the country. I even hear tell it's hot in Texas. We're going to find that out in just a minute. Y'all, this is Wednesday, second version of the week. We're looking forward to a great time. I've got a gentleman here. First time I've met him face to face. Well, actually, camera to camera was about an hour ago. But I've heard great things from people. You know, I've been in this world here, this Patriot world, this Save Our Country world for about 5 years. And it's kind of a small circle. But I've heard the name Doc Pete Chambers for a while and heard such amazing things about this guy. And we're gonna dig deep and find out what he's about, what he's doing. There's some pretty cool stuff upcoming. Y'all say hi to Doc Pete Chambers. Hey Doc, how you doing, young man?
Oh, I'm doing all right, sir. How are you?
Man, if I got any better, I'd be good looking. In fact, that's why I put these glasses on, because it helps me by 50%. But it's a little bit of a lie, kind of like the filters that women use on Instagram. So I'm going to go ahead and get the ugly me out so I can actually see what I'm doing.
Oh, there you go. Much better. Much better.
Doc, you're in Texas. Where are you at right now, man?
So I'm in Wimberley, Texas right now. It's kind of the hill country. We call this the hill country.
Is that out east?
No, it's just a little bit south and west of Austin and just about an hour due north out of San Antonio.
Okay, so you're on the west side there. A lot of rocks and tumbleweeds.
Yeah, it's rocky. It's beautiful country though. You can see for miles where I'm at right now up high, and it's this is kind of our location. This is our headquarters, but I'm all over the state nowadays, as I was back when I was a Texas National Guardsman. Just about out of 254 counties, I think I've been in 253 of them.
Wow, you got something on the bucket list. Then you got one more.
That's it. Yeah, but unfortunately, that's downtown Austin. I don't really want to go there, but I might be working there soon.
Brother, I'm telling you, it's changed. Austin's changed a lot in the last 10, 15 years. Changed a lot. Let's talk a little bit about you, and let's tell the audience a little bit about you. You were in the military a long time. Where did you grow up? How did you get involved in the military?
Right. So, long story. My dad was an immigrant. He came to America legally back in the early '60s. He came from Greece, right? So my last name is Chambers, but he changed it because he became a family doctor, right? So he's a small town doc, and they couldn't pronounce his name, so he changed it to Chambers. That was him. My mom's from U.S. born and all that. Small town. He was about 3,000 people in town, and he was a traveling doctor. So he went around and did house calls.
Brother, I had one of those in Pryor, Oklahoma. His name was Socrates. He was Greek. Yep, Socrates.
Yeah, that's right. So last 20 years of my life, prior to really just going to the wars, the global war on terrorism, South Oklahoma along Southeast Oklahoma along the Red River was home for me, right? And so, if I wanted to go into Texas about 6 miles, that's where I'd go get my shiners across the line.
You don't know nothing
Technically,
about Colgate or anything like that, then, do you?
oh, I sure do. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in Northeast Oklahoma. I got some folks from down there.
Oh, that's so funny. We got, yeah, small world. So then I left out in 1983 and became an infantryman down in Fort Benning, Georgia. Ronald Reagan was the president, and I served my initial stint as an enlisted guy. Went into the reserves, got out honorable discharge 1990. And then after that, I thought, well, I'm going to go be a doctor too, like my dad. I wanted to be a Green Beret at the time. It didn't happen. I broke my leg. I had hardware in my leg and all this. They said, you can't jump anymore. So go use your college money. And I did. And I went to college, medical school, graduated as a primary care doctor. I had intention of going back in the military to be an Army doctor. And that's what I did. I shortly after 9/11 found myself in the Special Forces, and I was a battalion surgeon and a flight surgeon, and I went all over the world with those guys. Three combat tours, and probably 7 total deployments on other type of missions, but 3 in the GWAT for sure. And that changed my life because we thought we were going to Afghanistan. It was going to be a quick deal, and it wasn't. Right, 20 years
No.
later. 20 years later, here we are.
Yeah.
Lots of friends that I lost and worked on and tried to keep, bring home, and some I did, and some unfortunately I couldn't do anything about. But and I went to Texas National Guard 2015, 2016, right over that winter, and spent the rest of my time pretty much dealing with the border issues. Of course, COVID was kicking off at the time, so I was dealing with those issues, and I got fired from my job. I wasn't kicked out of the military, but I was fired from my job for doing what's called informed consents, which means I tell soldiers, hey, you don't need to take the shots. You're young, you're healthy. And they didn't like that because it didn't fit the, they just want it green, right? Commanders want to see that green, like we're 100%.
Right.
And I said, well, sir, they're young. They don't need the shots. I had the largest deployment of U.S. forces on the border of Texas and Mexico since 1812. And that had the largest deployment of soldiers I was taking care of. I was charged with. And so that rose to the level of the Pentagon. They sent a general down. He won the game of rock, paper, rank, right? He's a general. I'm a lieutenant colonel. So I got fired from that job. I was put in a desk job, and you don't do that to a Green Beret. So I went ahead and retired. And when I retired, that's when I started getting into media and things, telling people what's going on.
Doc, I think you might be one of the most unusual people I've ever talked to militarily, because I don't think I've ever seen a flight surgeon doctor in the military that could kick my butt. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen somebody that can hand-to-hand combat or use a weapon like we did or anything. You were unusual, my friend.
Yeah, well, when you're a Mustang, you're already unusual because you're an enlisted guy who becomes an officer. And then when you're a doctor and you're the first doctor actually to be sent to the Q course to become a Green Beret, that's what they did. They sent me at age 44, 45 when I hit selection, 47 when I graduated the Q course. So, I'm 60 now, and I'm as good once as I ever was. But those days,
I ain't as good as I once was. Yeah, baby.
That's right.
I'll be 58 in a few weeks, brother. I'm not far behind you.
Yeah. So it's just a number though. And I got out of the military, went to work back on the border doing counter human trafficking and also disaster relief with my team. We're called the Remnant A Team, and that unit we've been around the country in North Carolina, and then also in Texas with the floods and a lot of different areas around the country with regard to really informing, teaching, then helping people to identify what it is that you're looking for when you're trying to figure out who it is that's absconding with children and other people. Human trafficking obviously children hits our heart the most, but adults, people are abused from all around the world, and this is it's a scourge.
Brother, abuse, in my opinion, and I've had some experience with it, not personally, but someone that I cared about deeply that was abused as a child. My opinion, it's as bad as murder, maybe worse, because the victims many times never recover. Their bodies live, but their emotions and minds are never correct again. And I think we've really got to consider what we do with abusers from this point out, because it's not just a slap on the wrist and put them in for 5 years. That's not good enough. There's got to be some changes made there, and I understand where you're coming from on the human traffic side, especially the children. I've had a chance to become friends with a few of those guys, and I think Boz is a good friend of yours as well as Craig Sawyer.
Yes, sir.
Here's what I've learned, and this is a little off subject, Doc, but we'll come right back. The people that I've met since I've really become active, and that's been in the last, well, I've been active for 5 years, but really active since God put me on the path to finish this fight. The people that I've met that are deep in this battle have all gone through some kind of a hell. They've gone through some battles, but all of them are close to Jesus.
Yeah.
That one blows my mind because that's another unusual character. Talk to me about your walk.
Yeah, right. So our ministry, we are a ministry. Our 501, technically a 508c1a. We are an association of ministries. We don't have a four-wall church, but every Sunday we're somewhere like now on the back of a truck, a tailgate, or out in a park somewhere, and we have a service. And usually just us guys, but sometimes people come in. But what I have found, just like you, is that we find each other out there, right? It's that there's a certain discernment that that, okay, this is another person that just has the same fruits of the spirit, we call it, right? And so I didn't walk this way my whole life. About age 30, when I gave my heart to Jesus, and it was in the last several years where I really learned about relationship, paying attention. And so that's really where it's got me. And then that's partially what got me to where I'm at now with making the decision to run for the senior public servant of the state of Texas.
Well, we're going to talk about that next, but I do want to kind of point out something, and I don't think most people understand this. I have found this to be true, and it's not scientifically backed. It's a Glennism, if you will. But I believe that probably a huge percentage, and I believe it may be over 90%, maybe 99% of the church, and I'm talking about the local New Testament people that go to church on Sunday and call themselves Christian. I don't believe they really understand what faith is and what a walk of faith is, because here's why. We get it preached from the pulpit. It's your Christian life should be easy. If you pray for it, God wants to give it to you, da, 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 da. And this saying that somebody made up that God will never give you more than you can handle, which is a crock of hooey, not true at all. If you're walking with him, he will give you more than you can handle, because if you can handle it, he doesn't need to show up. And what I have found, again, we're going back to these warriors, is people that have gone through some hell and found hope in Jesus and found faith, because faith is not found in the easy. It's found in the impossible, not even the difficult. It's found in the impossible. And what you're about to do, young man, is pretty impossible, they say.
Yeah. That's absolutely right. And when I got fired from my job, of course, I felt like I was betrayed by my Department of Defense, being a guy that had put everything in my life into it, downrange, multiple deployments, combat wounded, all these things, taking care of guys downrange. And I went through a wilderness. There was a period. It was hard. I mean, it was hard because I let a pity party take over. But as soon as the Lord taught me this one thing, and it was each individual, that's why it's a relationship. This is what I learned. Okay, this is my relationship. If Jesus is all you have, guess what? That's all you need. Right? That's all you need. When I learned that day, I threw the pity party away, and I went to look for work. And that's really where that kicked off that team, and then what we're doing now. So you're absolutely right. It's pity party. There ain't no room for it. Look, our Lord and Savior died on the cross and took on all sins of the world that we could have everlasting life. But that doesn't mean just sit back and on the couch. It means go out and look for work. Look for Jesus' work.
Well, here's the great news, man, and we're talking the same language. We've gotten so comfortable in the country that we sit on the couch way too much. I did a study, maybe 3 decades ago now. It's been a long time, that Ken Blackaby had put together called Experiencing God, and it's talking about some of the same things you're talking about right now. He talked about a crisis of belief. Well, crisis of belief, again, is not going to happen in the easy. It's happening when it's something coming against you that if God doesn't, it's not going to happen. And so I'm understanding that I had that. You and I just spoke before we came on. Mine happened in an 8x10 jail cell, 73 days. Arrested without a cause, didn't even know why for 23. And God just kept telling me, son, I've got a plan. and this is not it. And I will take what's meant to harm you and turn it into good. Here's where we get caught up: is it probably ain't going to happen immediately. We think God speaks, okay, it's done, and He can do that. I don't think that's the norm, though. I think He uses that to mold us and to shape us, maybe to sand off the rough edges. And Pete, I think you might have been sanded on a time or two, young man.
Yeah, I lived in the sand. We used to joke about that. You don't want to have too much oil in your weapon, in your in the functioning parts of your weapon, and it's sand, because that sand finds the oil and then it doesn't function.
Yeah.
So that sand it's gritty. Yeah.
Well, some crazy things are going on around the country, but there's some things that are happening in Texas. And one of the big ones I'm hearing is not Pete Chambers running for governor. Let's talk about that, my brother. What's going on in Texas?
Yeah, that was one of those things where not anything I was looking to do at all. On Pentecost, this earlier, just a few months ago now, 2 months ago, a bunch of folks came to me. We were at a party, we were having a cookout, having a bonfire, and it was an ambush, straight up ambush. Some great people from around the country were at this thing, and they said, "We want you to consider running for the governor of Texas." And I said,
Now that wouldn't have been Robert and Jamie Agee involved with that, would it?
100%.
I know those people. They're troublemakers.
And so Robert looked at me and said, "Yeah, we want you to do this." And I said, "Give me a week, and I'll just listen, and I'll just listen." So for a week, I listened. But during that week, I was all over the country. I was at a counter human trafficking event in Mississippi, spoke at a couple tent revivals, had a couple little other missions that we did in between. And every day I heard, just tell them how you got here. This is what I heard, perceived, which is your testimony, and I'll do the rest. And I thought that the Lord meant that was for the testimony in the tent revival in Mississippi, in the Delta. That wasn't what it was about. It was about, tell people your story, and I'll do the rest, to include what you think you can't do, which is running for governor. Now, somebody listening to this is going to go, okay, so he's a Christian nationalist. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about that. You don't worry about what men say about you.
That's
I only
right.
care about one thing, and this is the one thing I've learned. I learned this way before this statement was said to me not too long ago. You're a Christian nationalist. I said, no, I see myself as God sees me, nothing more, nothing less. So this is what I see. God knows me, and I know Him, and He sees me as a centurion. Well, what does that mean? That means if you believe what these words say in this book, and I do, and you say, and I hear from the Lord and say, okay, well, He says this right here: you can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Or He could say, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything through prayer and petition, present your request to God. The peace of God transcends all understanding. Regard your heart and mind in Christ Jesus. Philippians 4:6-7. If I believe that, fear's out the window. I believe those things. So I'm a centurion, right? And so that's the way I care. I'm not a Christian nationalist. You can call it that. I'm just a man, right? Just a man who I might have identified as a Green Beret. I might have identified as a flight surgeon, but those things, now I've got a different kind of armor on, Ephesians 6. And so to me now, that's where I'm at, and I'm full steam ahead because I jumped out of the plane now, and there's no going back.
You said something it's ironic because I feel the same way. It's God will use what you've gone through and what He's allowed you to go through, good and bad. He'll use that to further the kingdom if you let Him. And you were talking about telling your story, and He'll do the rest. I do the same dadgum thing, Doc. I thought I was just writing a song about 3 years ago, and now I've got all this stuff on top of my shoulders. I'm a little old country boy from Pryor, Oklahoma, man. What am I thinking? And I'm not thinking. I'm just saying, yes, sir, let's do it. And I feel like you're telling me the same thing. You're jumping on one of the toughest things you could think of doing right out of the bat, running for governor of the great state of Texas. And I say that as an Oklahoma boy.
Yeah, it is. And I spoke 2 nights ago in the Fort Worth Club. It is the place where Eisenhower, when he left World War II, he took off his uniform. Eisenhower announced officially to Texas before he went. He came out of Denison, Texas, but where he was born. But he announced in Texas officially in that same place where I was speaking to a crowd. I looked at the wall. There's Eisenhower on the wall, and I asked him about the room. Look, he wasn't a governor before that. He wasn't a city city commissioner or county commission. he went straight for president. Now, much more well known. We're talking about Eisenhower, a lot of name recognition. But for me, I don't look at the task and think, well, I'll do my best. Now, if I'm running a 400 and I'm on the last leg of 4x400, I'm gonna win that thing, right? And
Uh-huh.
that's the way I'm doing it. Now, what God has it's His word and His will. I can only go there.
Yeah.
But for now, I'm straight 110% going forward. I've already been asked to bow out. I've been asked to maybe to consider a different job. People, they're like, "We like you, man. You'd be great for this, or you'd be great for that. Don't do this. You'll
Uh-huh.
ruin your." I was told you'll ruin your reputation because you'll always be remembered as the guy that lost to Abbott. And I'm like, I'll be remembered where? Not in the courts of heaven. It doesn't matter
Yep.
there. It doesn't
Yep.
matter. And so I'm not looking for to be a politician. Aristotle, he wrote. My dad was from Greece, so I understand Greek words. And so Aristotle, the word polis is the city state. So that's Athens of Greece. Politician is someone who takes what the polis wants, the people, and puts it to action. So
Uh-huh.
honestly, politicians are failing at their jobs because they don't do a lot of action. They just do a lot of carrying on, belly aching, and all that. We'll get beyond that because I'm going to take the executive position, and then I'll be the forcing function.
Let's talk about that, man. Let's do the political thing, but let's do it God's way. So people that don't know you and they're living in Texas, why should they support Doc Pete Chambers? Other than it, he's a good looking cowboy that served our country and he's a doctor and he's done all that cool stuff and he's helping kids and pulling out of sex trafficking and human trafficking. Other than that, why should they support Doc Pete Chambers running for governor? What kind of changes do you see that need to be made there in the great state of Texas?
Well, the changes that I need to see actually are the current laws that don't need to be changed. So we're talking about the Constitution, the state Constitution, the federal Constitution, but I'm required to focus on the state Constitution, and there are certain things in there that are just there are loopholes to everything. And what I've seen happen because I was working directly for the governor, the current governor, during the COVID mission and his task force, and I worked directly for the governor and the task force on the border, Operation Lone Star. So I see what's called optics versus reality world. And so typically politicians will show you they want you to believe, whether they do it by omission or commission. They want you to believe something and then think that you're okay, that you're safe, and that this is okay or that's okay. So most people I talk to say, well, Abbott's not bad. I mean, he's a career politician. He's been a politician 30 years. He's in his 12th year as governor, to be tied for the longest running governor. Well, that alone right there says to me, I'm a term limits guy, so I believe, they're in term limits because the old sometimes needs to go out with the wash, right? It needs to go. Bring in the new. And so the new is just a reinvigoration of the constitutional aspects to how I look at godly governance.
Uh-huh.
Godly governance. Now, I understand that people are not going to agree with me when I say the name Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. That's who I take my marching orders, but that's me. But I'm going to be the guy that represents this state, much like I was a soldier. When I was wounded on the 12th of May, 2004, in Baghdad, I didn't I didn't protect the Constitution for just Christian nationalists.
Right.
I did it for all people in this country,
Uh-huh.
whatever religion, whatever color. It didn't matter to me. It didn't matter when they were serving next to me. They were all my brothers, right? But what I will do as a governor is represent all the people of Texas and those that are in there, that are in the bell curve of common sense world. They'll get it. I will never placate the right, far right, or the far left. Nobody can do that. You can't do that. But I
Uh-huh.
can get to the common sense people, be it a little bit left, definitely right, and make them understand that the things that you don't see, and I'm prepared to talk about every bit of them because I've seen behind the curtain uh, without slinging mud. I don't have to sling mud. I won't. I
Yeah.
just tell facts. And the facts are that we're not okay with certain things. I'm not okay with property taxes being 26% higher since this last governor came in. They're out of control in Texas.
Uh-huh.
It's I believe, the number fourth highest state in the country with property taxes. People are mad about that in Texas, right? So let's use some common sense. Even Governor Stitt in Oklahoma right now, they're working on a phased withdrawal, if you will, of
Uh-huh.
property taxes. We
Right.
understand we need it for schools and things like that. I'm not saying zero property taxes, but until we can doge this thing, do a a fiscal responsibility study. And we could pull billions. There's billions of dollars that are in funds right now in Texas. Some of them are investment funds. I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with Colony Ridge out in East Texas, Liberty County. That's 40 square miles that could house 200,000 people, and it's only being housed by illegals right now. Right? That
Mm-hmm.
would be the 18th largest city in the state. If we are going to get behind Tom Homan, why are we allowing this to happen? Well, sometimes people turn their head the other way when campaign contributions come in. These are just
Yeah.
facts. I
Yeah.
can't do that. And now I'm not okay with somebody coming in the state and saying, well, we're going to set up a Sharia law city. We can't do that. Constitution says you can't do that. The state
Mm-mm.
says you can't do that. It's happening. So there are things that I just can't live with when it comes to security of this nation, of this state. I can't abide by it. Right. So there are certain things that I have to do so that people can sleep peaceably in their beds at night and know that they're safe. And the guy that's awake is me. I've done that before. I'll do it again.
You hit some pretty critical things, and it's not politically correct. Shame on you for not being politically correct. Let's talk about the property tax real quick. I
Yes, sir.
think it's one of the most unconstitutional things that has ever been implemented because this is supposedly the land of the free, and you work and the indoctrination of going out and going to college or getting a good job, working till you're 65, 70 years old to retire and live 2 or 3 more years. You get a home, you pay a 30-year mortgage, but you never own it because you're paying property taxes until the day you die, and then you're paying a death tax or a inheritance tax.
Right.
Dude, brother, we are taxed to death in this country. If people really knew where all of their money was going, they'd be flabbergasted. So number
Yes, sir.
one, that's something you hit on pretty hard there.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And so those are the things that people are screaming about right now in Texas. One of the things we do is sentiment analysis, right? I'm in this world now. I have to do it. But I do that because I personally do it when I meet some groups of people. So I've been in Fort Worth and Dallas and Gainesville, way up on the border there by the red. I've met with these people. Everybody in different regions. And Texas is like 8 different states if you think about it.
Yeah.
Everybody in these different regions has their thing that's the most important thing to them. But all of them are united in the fact that we are taxed to death.
Mm.
Now, Texas has lured in a lot of technology and a lot of industry that is amazing, right? But what they did that when they lured them in, they gave them an incentive, which was to drop their usury taxes, drop their taxes, and then it got put on the citizens,
Right.
right? So citizens, as the last 12 years will prove, 27% increase in taxes alone, uh, no bueno, right? We say that on the border, no bueno. So
No
you
bueno.
can't, yeah, you can't, as they say, well, I'll say, don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. You
Yeah.
can't say that because we're not. That's not the truth. So we've got to get to a place where we are transparent, truly transparent with the people, right? So there's
See,
no
that's a
back
scary
door.
thing, Pete. That's a scary thing when you've got skeletons in your closet, which most politicians do, and they hide stuff. And here's where I'm weird, man.
Yeah,
You may be the same. I don't have anything in my closet that everybody hasn't seen. I'm not telling you don't have skeletons, but
yeah,
I've named them. I got Bob and I've got Joe and I've gotten here. This is what I screwed up with in my life. And
yeah.
I found that transparency means that nobody can ever come back and throw that back at me and say, well, you didn't say this, or no. And Doc, if that sounds to me like what you're talking about is being transparent and not
Yeah,
just in
that
your
because
personal, but
that's the
in the
coercion.
government.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's right, Glenn. That's the coercion side of things. So as a Green Beret, there are certain things that I do know extremely well. And when it comes to dealing with people in combat, that we have, let's say, captured, or I have to go negotiate with a Taliban warlord, there are 4 things in this world that get people to do things. Number one, okay, number one, and it's the acronym MICE, MICE: money, ideology, coercion, and ego. Those are
Uh-huh.
the 4 big ones. Those are the big ones. You can't get me with money, all right? Because I didn't come into this with it, and I'm just going to go out with my disability and my retirement pay. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Coercion. That means I found something on you, and I'm going to. Oh, ideology. I'm sorry. Ideology is the second one. All right, ideology. That's my faith. Okay, that's people's faith, but people may have a different ideology.
Uh-huh.
I stand firm on that, right? So I'm not going to change my ideology. I haven't done it. I've been a public servant since '83. I'll continue to be a public servant, just be the senior one. There's coercion. Now that's the one you're talking about. And when I'm on the trail, when I'm talking to folks, and we call barnstorming in Texas, when I'm on the trail, I'm out there telling people, look, I did not lead a perfect life.
Uh-huh.
I've been married before. My ex-wife will tell you, he's the most patriotic guy I've ever met. He was gone for 20 years, and we still love each other. And he's a great man, but he's focused on mission. And I've moved on. That's good. Okay, well that's fair. I don't want something to come out, because there's nothing to come out that you're going to find on me that's going to be anywhere near what some of the people have done. Now that's cognitive dissonance. I don't want you to think that I'm minimizing. I'm just saying that I'll tell the truth, and if they ask me about it, I'll be like, you're dang right I did that. Okay, and I've been absolved of those sins, been washed in the blood. But not saying that tongue in cheek, because I believe that.
Yeah.
Right? I believe that. I will not cast aspersions or throw mud on people. If there's something on them, that's on them. But I will always point out truth, because the truth is what sets us free. The truth. And sometimes it hurts people's feelings when I tell the truth. But I've learned that as a soldier, as a young soldier, as a Mustang, became an officer. I'm responsible for everything that happens or fails to happen as a commander or as a leader.
Right.
So I'll take the hard hits. I can do that. I've been yelled at by the best of them. Like they said in that one movie, I've been chewed out before. Yeah. I mean, it's happened, right?
Yeah.
So,
I was so good at it, Pete. I don't know if you know this, but on the music video for that last song, Finish This Fight, I found my drill sergeant from Fort Sill, 1988, 89, 88. And I reached out to him, and he and I are friends now. He's calling cadence on my song.
That was him?
That was my drill sergeant, brother. And he and I are buddies, but he chewed my butt. He was the blonde, blue-eyed Terminator back in the day. So I know how to take a butt chewing. I've been there before.
Yeah, we do. Somebody asked me the other day, said, well, you don't seem to get ruffled up very easy. I said, no, unless you're hurting a child, yeah, I'll get ruffled up. But I said, but I don't wear emotions right here on my sleeve, because I wasn't issued emotions, right? Matter of fact, they drummed it out of me. But I have a heart, right? So when I lose a friend, or I see somebody that's being oppressed, the motto of the Green Berets, De Oppresso Liber, to free the oppressed, I take that serious.
Well, Boz was on my show a few weeks ago, and he was talking about you, how you came down for his father's funeral. In fact, I had gotten to pray with Boz a couple of weeks prior to that while his dad was in ICU. He and I have never met face to face, other than what you and I are right now over the cameras. But he was touched that you would come for that. I mean, that's brotherhood right there, that most people don't get to experience that level.
That man, first of all, his daddy was a hero. He was a legend.
I didn't know. I had no idea.
Yeah, but and he was a Green Beret as well. But Boz is like a brother to me, and we are really kindred spirits. We both come from the same kind of background. We're both in the same business right now. So for me, it was a no-brainer. And I had an event that I had to go to somewhere else. I had to call him and say, hey, I've got to cancel that, because I must be at a full military honor funeral, which I shaved for, put on my uniform, put my beret back on. And I was honored to be able to be a pallbearer at that funeral.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's some pretty amazing stuff, my friend. I want to talk about some of the vets in Texas here in a few minutes, but I need to take a quick break because I need to talk about my mission. So it's going to take me about 3 minutes, but I want to share with the audience a little teaser. We've got a new 19-minute mini documentary coming out this week. It will come live. We took a young man named Joshua home from Mineral Wells, Texas. An Iraqi war veteran, was wounded in 2003. He's been fighting those wounds for 22 years. And almost 3 years ago, one of those wounds completed, and it paralyzed him from the chest down. So he took his last steps in December of 22. And we just went to New York and fitted this young man for an exoskeleton. And he took his first steps in almost 3 years. And I want to show you guys that real quick. And then Pete, we'll be right back. Hang on with me real quick.
So I had a 60 millimeter mortar that landed 3 feet in front of me. And so it didn't cook off. And so it technically, they would consider it to be a dud, but it wasn't a dud. It had a broken propeller. on it. I got pictures of it. I carry with me and stuff. It's about the size of a 1.5-liter bottle, but it has kill radius about 25 meters, 20 to 25 meters. So basically, if that round would have went off, then confirmed dead would have been 20 to 25 meters. Been 31 months since I've been able to stand on even with a brace, or being able to take one single step. So it's been 31 months to the day yesterday.
And then God leaned in and he said, you know what? You're going to do a foundation. You're going to be the one to help these boys, and some girls, I'm sure, get to walking again, back on their feet.
It became so real when we physically came here and I physically got to see face to face to that unit. And knowing that, I mean, like I said, it's pretty much like an avatar. I mean, I felt like I, plugged in and we became one. Like I was breathing with it, like, I mean, it just incredible. I mean, I can't even imagine, I can't even describe the feeling that I have. But like, it was like deep down inside of me, it's like, you know what, I felt like I can fight again. I really am able to stand again, and I'm like, I can do this.
Like, I guess the sense of pride, like to stand tall, no matter what height you are. Not a jab at Glenn, but just to stand. Just to stand, I think is huge. You take it for granted.
Y'all, Joshua Holm is 41 years old. He is still in the prime of his life. He is working and building a retreat in Mineral Wells, Texas, from that wheelchair. And we have an opportunity to let this young man walk again. Doctors say he never will. Short of God touching him, I don't think he ever will. But we have an opportunity to put him in this exoskeleton. This is next generation AI-driven self-balancing technology. He gets to walk. And we're raising money. Be on the lookout. Right now, you'll see running underneath the screen. Let me throw you real quick. You'll see underneath the screen our fundraising website, givesendgo.com/finish this fight. You can give there right now, but we're launching a brand new fundraiser in September. Walk for a Hero, Joshua's Journey. And you're gonna get a chance to participate. We're gonna do a walkathon. It'll last for 28 days. You get a chance to donate the number of miles you want to walk, get some people to sponsor you, get some businesses to sponsor you, get some friends together, do it together, get healthy, and help this guy get up on his feet again. This is grassroots as it gets. The VA has done less than 100 in 10 years. So we're trying to raise $1.5 million, and we're going to do 10 this year. Joshua's just the first. So jump on board, givesendgo.com/finish this fight. Pete, thanks for letting me take just a minute to focus on that, because that's the mission that God has put me on. And it's a different mission than yours, but it's a mission that's pretty important. And that's Texas boy. He's right there in your home state.
I was going to say, I was listening to that. I'm like, all right, when I get out there on the next go round on the Barnstorming, I'll stop. I know exactly where Mineral Wells is. They got a beautiful big painting in town that says Mineral Wells right there. So I'll go in and say hi to him.
Yeah, he is a good dude. He's a good dude. Well, let's talk about the vets in Texas. What's going on with the vets in Texas? How can you help that? And what do we need to be aware of?
Well, part of my job as commander-in-chief, as a governor, it is the commander-in-chief. You have a lieutenant governor. He basically herds the cats in the legislature. That's his job. So technically, when it comes to legislation, the lieutenant governor in Texas has more power, right, in the sense of legislative power. The governor, his number one task is commander-in-chief, and that's how the job description rolls. I mean, I'm just telling you like it is. And so I have the Texas Military Department underneath my command. And then underneath that comes the Texas National Guard, which is down one side. And down the other side is the Texas State Guard. That's a militia. Florida has one of those as well. And that is an authorized militia under the state. It has been around since the Alamo. And so, 1836, William Barrett Travis and James Bowie and the boys. All right, so they had quite a deal going there. That lineage comes from that. Right now, the Texas State Guard is more of a humanitarian group, right? They go out during hurricanes, hand out sandwiches. They might fill up some sandbags. Florida's is very robust. They've got a great state guard. We've been talking to them. I'm going to bring back the honor, prestige, and esprit de corps of the actual state guard. But in doing that, I can give veterans that are out of the military another purpose.
Right.
Just say, look, you won't be called up to go downrange anywhere. This is state only. You'll be available for any kind of emergency, man-made or natural, and you will then have a purpose again where you can go and put your uniform on again. We'll give you your rank back, whatever you were. We'll bring you in, and you will be there. Now, if you get deployed into a flood zone like we had just recently, you get paid for that time, but otherwise it's volunteer. But it gives you a purpose where you can go and get that same camaraderie again. Because I know, as a guy that went through my pity party after I got out of the military and didn't have a sense of purpose, that it does kind of eat on you. Now, it didn't take me long to get out of it, and I built a team again, an A team, and I've got some great pipe hitters, if you will, that are outside here watching me because they're making sure nobody's going to mess with me out here. We're in an area where we're doing some work as well. But what will I do for veterans? What I'll do for veterans is, of course, we'll maintain what we've got with regard to the Texas Veterans Administration and how we're going to plus up what the VA already gives, right? So the VA, as we know, sometimes you're good, sometimes they're bad. The one I go to is great, but I've been to other ones. Unfortunately, I hate to say, I stopped in Oklahoma City, and that one wasn't that good. But this was in 2015. Right now we're doing pretty good up there, but you never know. Sometimes it's just who you meet.
Pete, the one in Miami has treated me pretty well too. I've had two cornea transplants from the debacle that I went through in 2017. I've got the best cornea specialist in the state, maybe one of the best in the nation. So they've treated me pretty well, but we're not hearing those same things from everywhere across the country. And when you become, there's two things here I want to talk about real quick. One of those is my redneck I can't control it sometimes. And I'm thinking about you becoming the governor and the commander in chief of the National Guard and that general that fired you. Is he still in service? Because I wonder if you'd like to go have a chat with him and just smile. Nothing bad. Just, hey, wheels are turning now a little bit different. That's my redneck thing. Number two is maybe we should chat because the military is not doing for our disabled, our paralyzed veterans what they can. And I've run into a niche where I want to embarrass the government to help them step up because the technology is now here. It will be FDA approved this year, and it is now here. So that may be something I want to chat with you a little bit down the road when you win.
Oh, we absolutely will, because I went through the VA process myself when I got done. I was rated at 100%, combat wounds and other things, broken back, jumping out of planes, a transverse process fracture in my neck, another bad jump. It really wasn't a bad jump. It was just a bad landing. But, those things right there, those are things we take home with us. Scars that are physical, but there are things that happen, and I don't use the word PTSD on myself or anyone else, because it's if you do that, you're giving yourself that word of dysfunction. I say you got post-traumatic stress, yes, but make that DNR, right? Recovery. Because unless you're just laying in bed and you're not doing anything all day long and watching The View on TV, that's going to make you dysfunctional right there alone. But we've got to get a purpose. So purpose is key. Then to be able to take, let's just say, an exoskeleton to those that I've got friends that have lost both of their legs, right? And then give them the opportunity to have something, or paralyzed for sure, an opportunity to be stable, right? To just get up and be a man or woman and walk across the room like you were talking about. Those things right there, that's autonomy. And that is something that a man for sure, and many women, probably all women, but I'm just speaking as a man. There's only two genders, by the way.
We can talk about that.
Yeah, and I'm saying is, you give me autonomy, I got purpose, life is good. Now, you add to that your faith, and then life is great. But for me, you give me purpose, and it doesn't matter. I don't care if I'm a street sweeper or a ditch digger. I'm happy. Building fence, I'm happy, right? that's what I want to do with the Texas State Guard, to bring that. And it's been on the books for a while to do it. Just legislature hasn't pushed it through. Blah blah blah. We're done with that. And
Well,
then of
that's a
course, you know,
challenge. Is complacency, my friend. We're in a country of complacency. We've got to come out of it. Man, there was a time
yeah,
when there was such a thing as American excellence. I mean, I know people hate to hear that word, but I don't give a crap. There was a time when it was something, and now we're a complacent, lazy society for the most part. If you're not, you're a superstar.
yeah. You know, there's a famous letter that came out of the Alamo, and it was written on February the 24th, 1836. William Barrett Travis wrote it. It's called the Travis Letter. And I wrote that thing on, I don't even know how many places downrange on walls. And what the Travis letter was it was a letter saying to General Houston, Sam Houston, and he was out eastern part of the state, from a bunch of 170 some odd guys in an Alamo, just south of here in San Antonio, and they needed some help. And he says, I beseech you, with everything that is dear to the American character, to come to our aid with all dispatch. But he didn't write that letter just to Texans. He wrote it to all Americans in the world as well, to Texans and all Americans in the world. We are besieged on all sides by enemies under, and right now I say enemies under tyranny or communism or Marxism. These things are insidious. You don't see them. They're not in our face. Nobody's fixed bayonets on our border. But I say that there is an American character that exists. It's still alive.
It is.
It's mostly in the periphery, in the flyover states. It's not in the big cities, but it is. It's just kind of quiet. Let's teach them. Let's teach people how to be American again, and to have that character, right?
Well, and that's coming, and we're seeing it. I know you're seeing it. I'm seeing it too. More and more are waking up. I believe we are in the beginnings of a great revival. I believe God is taking over again, but it's not the way that we've been trained. It's not through the local New Testament church where they're going to have a week or two of services. It's actually coming from folks like you and Boz and Craig Sawyer and maybe myself and some others that are just loud enough and bold enough and rough enough. You know, nobody want to see no polished guy that hadn't been through life telling people how to live. We've been through some stuff. And I think God is using that in a mighty way. Coming back to the VA real quick, the challenges I see in the VA, and I don't know about in Texas, but I think in a lot of areas, is they're doing the minimum. And again, that goes back to the complacency of our country. They're doing the minimum for our men and women. So we've got these young men that are paralyzed, chest down. They've got a wheelchair. They've had some physical therapy, but that's the minimum. They gave the maximum. And it's time for us to step up and give the maximum back. So
absolutely, that is a deserved thing. And when somebody tells me, you know, thank you for your service, I learned something from a Marine veteran who received the Medal of Honor, young man, and he jumped on a grenade and he was severely wounded, and he was in a taxi and he was riding. He's telling a story, and he said the taxi driver actually said to him, thank you for his service, and he's just an honest, good Christian kid, and he just said, well, you're worth it, sir. Right? He didn't mean to make a catchphrase. Yeah. But I started saying that to people, and it stops people in their tracks sometimes and going, I'm worth it. I said, yeah, I mean, if you took the time to say that to me, you're worth it. Yeah. You were worth every bit of that. Yeah. Every bit of it. Whether the war we were fighting was right or wrong in the sense of politics, I don't care. Because the truest value, the truest virtue of a soldier and a Marine and a sailor, airman, the truest virtue is love. Right? John 15:13, love. Love those that are next to you. You don't fight people because you hate them. You fight because you hate what they're doing, right? It's a righteous anger. But in the sense of the evil that we see around us now, and this is why we have to be bold. Why do we have to be bold? Because it's written. It is written. The wicked will flee when no one pursueth, but the righteous are bold as a lion. Yeah, right? I believe that. So the boldness may come across from me, but it's not that I'm hopped up on some kind of, you know, I'm sitting in the pulpit waiting for some money to come into the pot. I'm telling you it because it's the truth. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah.
Well, brother, you brought some tears to my eyes with that. I think I'm going to use that. I've never heard that before. You're worth it. I like that.
You're worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk real quick about the border, and we'll jump onto some medical freedom. We've talked, and I don't want to run too much of your time away. Border is doing good, I think, right now. But tell us what's happening down there in Texas.
Yes, sir. Okay, I'll give you 100% firsthand. Okay, the reality of the border is that that Trump came in, and look, when I was down on the border, there were days, 48-hour periods where 12,000, 17,000 would show up overnight, like in 2 days. Del Rio, 17,000 Haitians that we know about. Now there were gotaways. Eagle Pass, 12,500 Venezuelans, many of those with the Tren de Aragua. That's a gang, right? They're bad guys. They got tattoos of AK-47s on their face. No bueno. That's another one. So when that was how it was, and Trump came in and he put a tourniquet essentially on that wound, which was great. It made it much easier for us because before we were looking for a needle and a stack of needles when it comes to terrorists. Now we can actually find them, which really helped us out a lot. It made it easier to track traffickers, both in narcotics, guns, anything nefarious coming across the border, fentanyl, you name it, that's under the drugs. But it made it so much easier. So that's good, right? But here's the problem: the 1,000 tiny cuts. Got tourniquets on the big wounds, 1,000 tiny cuts right now. So there's some things that have been damaged in this nation when it comes to security and it
Oh
comes
yeah.
to the system of bringing in people from other countries. As I told you, my dad came legally, and so then and he became a successful guy, a doctor. And so now you got these people that come in, and most of them are being used as pawns, and they were used in a terrible way because I feel
Yep.
for them. I was there on the border with them. I seen little girls come across that were being trafficked. That's what got me in the business. I can't look at those eyes and not do nothing. So when I do this now, and I say, but I have authority, you mean, to stop this, fully stop this, and not just stop with capturing the child away from the bad guys at the low level. I'm saying, as the governor, saying, I want to know who's at the top level on this thing, because that's where I've got to focus, because that'll stop a lot of this. Because you got the influx and you got the people that are bringing them in. The only reason they're coming across is because they make money on it, right? It's just that simple. So that is the border right now is much better with regard to the optic of the numbers of people. Absolutely, bad stuff is still coming across,
Well, it's pretty amazing that we've gotten a handle on it, and bravo for Trump for doing what he's doing. Bravo for you guys doing what you're doing. Here's the question: how do we repair the damage that's already here? Because we've got a virus that's come through that border. A lot of viruses that came through that border. Not everybody that crossed that border is bad. In fact, probably a big percentage of people that came across the border had a carrot dangled out in front of them for that good life. I think that's probably the majority that came across the border. And I know several here in South Florida that did. Not bad people, but there was a lot of bad mixed in. And how do we sort through that now and fix that problem?
That's a great question. So, the bad people, and literally with the good people, that's something that I don't know if you know Michael Yawn. He talks about this a lot. He's a former Green Beret that reports from the Darien Gap in Panama. That's a human osmotic pressure thing. That's a transfer migration thing. That's something the UN is trying to do the United States because it changes the demographics of America. That's a
Well, and
pretty
that's
high
happening
level.
with you in Texas now with the Muslim world. I mean, when you were talking about Sharia law.
Yeah, absolutely. So now that's one huge problem set. But here's what I do see, and this is the repair of it now. This will be the resuscitative care phase, if you will, on the medical side. Tom Homan came in. He knew who we were. He got a hold of some guys on the border and said, okay, who are these guys? Are they legit? He literally called me. I was driving down the road, and it's Tom Homan. What are you doing? Who are you guys? Who are you with? And I explained to him. He said, I want to meet you. So we met. We met right here in this town in Wimberley. And he said, I will support you. He had some people who had started us out that gave us our first check, really first big check, so that we could do what we were doing because we were legit. We weren't just a fly by night. We weren't trying to get, any media attention on it. Matter of fact, most of what we do, you'll never know about. And that's a good thing. But what he did was he started the repatriation project when he became the border czar, right? So now people are going back to where they need to go. Those that were fooled into coming to this country thinking they were going to end up in Chicago. That's the number one place that I heard on the border when I'd ask somebody, where are you going? Chicago. And I'm like, well, what's there for you? Nothing. We don't have anything, but we're going to go get jobs. They told us we're going to have jobs. And I'm like, man, I feel for you. But what I worry about is those Tren de Araguas. What I worry about is the CCPers, right? Because all those people are operators, all of the men, fighting age males, a lot of them coming across that border. 150 countries were represented on the Texas borders on 1,254 miles of Texas border. We had 150 something countries coming across. It's not the Mexican folks that come across to migrant work and come back. We want them. We need them. They've been doing it for hundreds of years. What we don't want is to take our system, overload it, and then give them a court date 3 years later, sorry, and then say, well, just show up to court. Are you kidding me? That's not going to happen. And then we've got to feed these people. We've got to make sure they have places to go. How can we do that? That system got overwhelmed. And so that's a Marxist technique. Overwhelm the system, create chaos, seams and gaps. That's where the bad guys move.
Well, what a lot of people don't realize, and even the ones that think they're pretty well educated in this world, don't realize, to the extent that you do, and maybe to the extent that I understand, is this wasn't just an open border. This was an infiltration. This was putting people in place. Yeah, Glenn, you're a conspiracy theorist. Bull crap.
You're absolutely right. And this is one of the things that I get hit on all the time now, especially because I'm in the limelight in politics in Texas. It's rough. And I've been called a xenophobe. I've been called a carpetbagger. I've been called all kinds of things. It's pretty funny because you can't intimidate me. It's just not going to happen. I actually laugh about it most of the time. But with the xenophobe thing, look, xenos from the Greek word foreigner. My dad was a foreigner. Okay, became an American citizen. So put that behind you. I'm not that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I don't belong to any societies that believes in hurting. Or not hurting, but segregating out white from black or anything like that. I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
My first barracks that I lived in, 4-man room, it was 3 black guys and me. Loved them to death like brothers.
Yeah.
We were all OD green when we joined.
Mm-hmm.
No color. Right. And so I'm not that guy. But what I am about is constitutional republic. That's what we are.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a constitution. There are a set of laws. We got to adhere to these laws. Right? And if we don't, then we're not a constitutional republic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's what works. But when you overload the system and then you try to create different kinds of laws inside of your country that don't belong side by side with the Constitution, no bueno, can't happen. So you said something earlier that's awesome. Is they're looking for that polished guy with the good teeth and the beautiful hair. That's not me, right? I'm polished enough and I know facts, but I'm not going to be the guy that's I'm going to be the guy that's going to tell you the truth. Like I said, sometimes it hurts.
Brother, I'm not that guy. I never will be. There's no way I could fit my uniform again after 35 years. I wrestled in college at 126. I think a few months ago, my left leg was at about 126. So I'm trying to take care of that. One more thing when it comes to the constitutional republic and our freedoms, and I know you're a big advocate of medical freedom. Let's talk about that real quick. Is that something that I really paid attention to back in 2020, 21 when all this crap took off? I wrote a song that went all over the world called No New Normal. And because I'm sick of the indoctrination and the brainwashing that was taking place. They started saying it over and over and over and over on these news media sites. It's just the new normal. You got to get used to. No, I don't have to get used to it. And I won't get used to it. Talk to me about medical freedom.
Yeah. So, there was a moral injury that turned into a moral bankruptcy with regard to the corporatocracy ruling type ideology. We've got to get beyond that. We can't let fear dictate how far you can stand from each other or whether or not you have to mask or don't mask or all these things. Those are fear tactics. Those are all fear tactics. Coronavirus itself, which we probably aren't allowed to use that word, but I think we're better off now. But that's actually common cold, believe it or not. When I went to medical school, that was the common cold. Now you add some stuff to it, which is modified RNA, and it becomes a bioweapon. Now, is it nefarious intent? I don't know. That's an element of a crime. I'd have to prove that. But when it comes to what the future of Texas looks like with regard to medical freedom, it's called decentralized medicine. You take the bureaucratic folks and the red tape folks out of medicine, and you let doctors practice the art of medicine. Providers practice the art of medicine. Corporations are ruling all of it, and they're ruining all of it. Obamacare came in, and little doctors' outfits up on the border there in the Red River, both Texas and Oklahoma side, couldn't keep their doors open because of the overreach of government. So they started pulling together, and they started forming these groups, and then they couldn't afford to keep their doors open because the problem with Medicare, Medicaid, and all these things overwhelming the system. Prices went up, and so then they allowed corporations to buy them and now the doctor stores are closing. Used to be able to, a town of 3,000 people on the Oklahoma side, you could go and have a baby delivered in a local hospital. You can't do that anymore. Now women have to drive an hour and a half to go down into Texas side or up into Oklahoma City to have that happen. But that's just the way it is. Now babies get delivered. Believe me, they'll come out in the emergency room. They'll come out in the car on the way to the hospital.
Yeah.
But we don't want that, right? We don't want that. We want good practice of medicine, non-government controlled medicine, but truly art of medicine back. But that has to be decentralized. So I talked to doctors like Mary Talley Bowden, an MD out of Houston that took a beating because she gave ivermectin, one of the safest drugs in the world.
Yeah.
It should be over the counter. So those kind of things have to be looked at, will be looked at, and it will give so much more freedom and autonomy of choice with true informed consent. What is informed consent? Just for your viewers, it's the good, the bad, and the ugly of any intervention that a doctor does to you. That may be a shot, it may be an IV, it may be a medication or a surgery. They got to tell you all of it and then get you to go like this with your head, north, south. Yes, I want that. Or no, I don't want that. That's true informed consent.
And then not be shamed when you take a stand and say, no, I don't want it. See, that's a whole other world, brother. That's a whole other world. I've made friends with a lot of people in that medical world, too. Dr. Judy Mikovits has become a great friend of mine.
Oh, my gosh. Great person.
Oh, I love her. I love her. She's coming on board with this fundraiser with us as well. Pete, you know what? We've had about an hour. Thanks so much for taking the time. I scrolled your website across the bottom. It's .petechambers.org. Go find out about this, man, whether you're in Texas or not. This is the salt of the earth. This is what we need running for office, whether it's governor or it's city council, it's whatever. You know, our founding fathers designed this constitutional republic to be governed by civil servants who were on a per diem. They'd go in and do their job, and they'd come home and do their business or whatever that was. It was never designed for career politicians to get the power and the influence that they have. And until we realize that and stand up and make a change, we're not going to change the results of what's going on in our country right now. And it takes people like Doc. It takes people like some of the people I've introduced on this podcast. Support them. Support them with your time, with volunteering. Doc, I know you're going to need people going out and knocking doors. I know you're going to need people answering phones. I know you're going to need some funds. I don't know where that comes from. I'm assuming a lot of that is donors. I know you're going to need people that will host you. Y'all, if you're in Texas, get up off the dadgum couch and help this man. Help this man. What can I do, Glenn? Well, I know the first thing you can do is find Jesus. And the second thing you can do is listen to God and get up off the dadgum couch and do something. If you can't get off the couch, get in your wheelchair, but do something. We've got to finish this fight. We are in the spiritual battle of a millennium, and it's manifesting in our country, and it's evil, and it's not pretty, and it doesn't have our best interest in mind. So it takes Jesus to be the number one, and it takes folks that will obey him and get out and do something to be the ground soldiers, to be the infantry, to be the artillery, to be the paratroopers, to be that. That sounds okay. That's so military, Glenn. Shut up. Well, guess what? That's who fights battles. So get over it. Doc, thanks for joining me, brother. If you'd stay on just a moment, I want to chat on the backside, but I'm going to let the folks go. Thank you for joining. Tomorrow, I've got Sheila Holm. Sheila's an author. She's a patriot. She's deeply embedded with military intelligence. She's got some stuff to talk to us about that you probably ain't never heard. Sheila Holm, 3:30 Eastern tomorrow. I'll finish this fight. I love you. Uncle Glenn loves you, and I'm out.
Forward, halt, left, 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 right, your left, right.
Arkansas boy with a lifelong plan. Took the oath like his old man, then turned around proud and shook his hand. L.A. kid stood right behind.